Many thanks for choosing us. President Akufo-Addo has called on Muslim leaders to prioritize the education of young girls in Zongo communities. The president made this appeal today when he joined Muslims at the Independence Square to mark this year's Eid al-Fitr prayers. President Akufo-Addo assured the Muslim community of his commitment to secure their welfare in the country.
Thousands of Muslims, including the chief imam, converged at the Independence Square for the prayers. Addressing the gathering, President Akufo-Addo expressed his government's commitment to making education accessible to all, especially Muslims. He emphasized the need for Muslims to be educated as that transcends into the realm of religion and not only for life, urging them to embrace campaign by the gender minister against early marriage among girls, especially those in Muslim communities.
My government is committed to making education accessible to all so that we're not just educated for life, but Muslims also fulfill their religious duty. I urge you to take advantage of the free senior high school program to ensure the education of your children, especially the Muslim girl. Government has also engaged some 3,000 Arabic instructors to teach Arabic studies in schools. I am very passionate about the development of women. In Islam, it is believed that, quote, paradise lies under the feet of our mothers, unquote. Let us allow our Muslim girls to realize their full potential. All the mothers of the faithful were not just educated, but they remain to this day an important source of our knowledge of the precepts of Islam.
On the Zongo Development Fund, President Akufo-Addo pledged his commitment towards improving lives of people living in Zongo communities.
I promised you that I was going to set up a Zongo Development Fund to help cater for the development needs of the Zongo communities, as we had promised in the 2016 MPP manifesto. I am happy to report that the fund has been set up, and on Monday, 11th June, I inaugurated its board under the chairmanship of a distinguished Muslim, the chief of Nima, Alhaji Muhammad Fall, popularly called Nifuta. Already, the minister responsible for Zongo and inner city development, the hard-working Honorable Alhaji Boniface Abubakar Siddiq, MP for Medina, has been busy about his mission. Development projects have started in many Zongo communities around the country. In Asawase in Kumasi, for example, we have started the process of desilting the Pelele River that runs through the community. We are also building major drains in the community to stop the perennial flooding that occurs in the area and cuts it off from the rest of Kumasi during the rainy season.
Apart from physical development, he stated that his government aims to roll out a comprehensive program that develops the talents of young men and women in the Zongos.
And while thousands of Muslims in the municipality joined Muslims around the world to celebrate this year's Eid al-Fitr, Joy News' Upper West correspondent Rafiq Salam joined two Muslim groups, the Orthodox and Ahmadiyya, to observe the congregational prayer.
Tens of thousands of worshippers of the Orthodox Muslim faith converged at the Nasir Bomi II Park to take part in the open congregational prayer. They were led by the Imam of the Central Mosque, Dr. Alhaji Suleiman Bakuri, to perform the 2 rakat prayer. Before the congregational prayer, Upper West Regional Minister Alhaji Suleiman Al-Hassan congratulated Muslims across the region for their dedicated service to Almighty Allah and the peaceful conduct of the holy month of Ramadan. He said the successful beginning and completion of the aforementioned religious obligation is a clear demonstration of the good faith of Islam and the spiritual uprightness that come with it. Alhaji Suleimana used the opportunity to thank the general public for their support in the fight against crime in the region.
Early this year, there were reports of armed robbery attacks and operations, especially on our highways. The Regional Security Council intervened by undertaking community sensitization on crime prevention and the need to form neighborhood watchdog committees in our various communities. I wish to use this opportunity to call on all of us to help with the initiatives that are being evolved out by the Regional Security Council in the region in curbing crime, and which are all geared towards making the region one of the most peaceful regions in the nation.
Ahmadi worshippers also converged at the Jujore Gardens to observe a 2-rakat open prayer. Over 10,000 worshippers took part in the 2-rakat mandatory open congregational prayer. The elderly among them, known as Majlis Ansarullah for males and Lajna Imaillah for the females, gorgeously dressed in white apparel, while their younger ones, known as Majlis Udamul Ahmadiyya, dressed in white shirt over black trousers with a black and white cap to match, performed the 2 rakats at the gardens. Upper West Regional Missionary of the Ahmadiyya Muslim Mission, Maulvi Masroor Muzaffar Chowdhury Ahmed, in a sermon to the congregants, likened the just ended Ramadan to the ongoing World Cup, where all participating countries are striving to win the cup.
I give a simple example to the members to understand that the footballers all over the world, they make exercise from morning to evening, years and years, and finally they come for a competition. This is the competition, spiritually competition, which Allah the Almighty introduced to the Mu'mineen, that if you think that you have to achieve your target and you have seen that you have achieved the target, then continue struggle, don't forget it, and celebrate in a way that how you are celebrating your World Cup when you won.
Standing in for the Upper West Regional Minister is the Wa Mayor Alhaji Isaku Tahir Mumin.
I would like to bring to your attention a worrying trend of drug abuse in the region that needs to be addressed. The abuse of tramadol is gradually becoming yet another threat to the development of the youth in the country. The youth have become addicted to it, and it is jeopardizing their future. I want to use this medium to call on imams in the region to tailor their preaching towards advocating against tramadol abuse in the region as a whole.
Reporting for Joy News, Rafiq Salam. Wow.
Back in Accra here in the studios, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Now, some Zongo youth in Kumasi have protested the failure of the police to give reasons for the murder of one Alidu Awal, who was shot by the police at Amanfrom last month. Contrary to Islamic customs, his family has refused to bury the body until justice is served. During Eid prayers on Friday at the Kumasi Central Mosque, the protesters carried placards with various inscriptions to reinforce their stance. Mahmoud Muhammad Nuruddin witnessed the scene and has filed this report.
Alidu Awal was shot and killed by some personnel from the Operation Calm Life team nearly a month ago. The body has since been deposited at the Komfanochi Teaching Hospital morgue. The youth say they are desperate as the deceased family grieves and are angry that the police have since not been able to explain to them why their colleague was killed unjustly. Seydou Abubakar is the leader.
Up to that police be able to see any reason on my what him the archer, you know, chairs up or Bocrono or go first. Yeah, but you would have granny, yeah, Obuquani at near Latania. What do you go be just like that?
The municipal chief executive, Alidu Seydou, among other leaders, pleaded with them to exercise restraint while they engage authorities on how to resolve the matter. The police say it was not prudent for the youth to storm the mosque at that moment, considering the significance of the day.
Islam is not correct. I don't agree with them for doing this at this time, at this place.
What will you say with regards to why they were trying to agitate?
I've said I don't agree with their reason. Number one, the reason they are doing this, I don't agree with them. Number two, the venue for doing this is also not appropriate. The timing is wrong, the venue is wrong, and I don't agree with their opinion. And I've said Ghana is a country of laws. Everyone has got the right to express his or her opinion. If that's what they think, that's not what is in my mind or in other people's minds.
No.
But the president of Zongo Youth, Alhaji Said Choko, disagrees with AC Kwekudria. The youth maintains until the police reveal to them what initiated the killing of Alidu Awal, they will not rest.
Joining me on the phone line for more on this issue is ACP Kweku Boah, who is the Menhyia Divisional Commander. Good evening to you, sir. Many thanks for joining us on Joy News Prime.
Yeah, good evening. How are you?
Very well, thank you. So how do you respond to the youth in your area who say they will not rest until you explain to them reasons why their colleague was killed?
Hello.
Yes, ACP. I'm saying, I'm just asking for a response to the youth in your area who say until the police provide answers to why their colleague was killed, they will not rest.
They will not do what?
They will not rest until they get answers as to why their colleague, yes.
Okay. And the matter is before the regional command. This matter is being investigated at the regional headquarters, not at my divisional headquarters. So I don't know why they say they will not rest when the matter is being investigated by the RHQ.
So far, what can you tell us about investigations into this matter? What has the unit handling this issue, what have they gathered so far?
I am the divisional commander for Menhyia. The incident did not happen in my area of responsibility, and it is being handled at the regional level. Therefore, it is not in my bosom to respond to an investigation of a matter which did not happen in my area of responsibility and also being investigated outside my area of responsibility. What I do know is that today, when we are at the Central Mosque, some young men, as you rightly said, came to the place, some holding some placards. That's what I know.
Okay, so how did you control these people and what are you assuring them? Because they're saying they will not rest until they get some response.
We did tell them that, number one, if they have any grievance, the appropriate person, the appropriate quarter to address this grievance is there. The regional command is there. If they agree, they could get in touch with the regional command. And again, today is a day when every Muslim in this country, and especially in Kumasi, had met at the Central Mosque to bring this long journey of 30 days fasting to an end. Therefore, we did tell them that the timing was not appropriate, the venue was not the right venue to have done what they did. So they understood us and they left.
All right, many thanks
A
to you.
very peaceful means we talked to them, they listened to us, and they left peacefully.
Many thanks to you. ACP Kwekubua is the Menchia Police Commander. We're still talking about Zongo and development, and residents of Old Tafo Zongo in Kumasi are fuming over the choice of a football pitch for redevelopment as a community facility, supposedly under the Zongo Development Fund. They accuse authorities, including Zongo and Inner City Development Minister Boniface Abubakar Sadiq, of failing to undertake consultations before arriving at the decision. It comes 2 months after the minister cut short for work to begin on the reshaping of the Methodist School Park on the periphery of the community at the expense of other pitches in mainland Old Tafo Zongo in Kumasi. Here are some of them making their point.
Some people be park
I think the elders should have discussed with the youth about the ideas of Zongo Development Fund, but that didn't happen. We heard out of the blue that the Zongo Development Fund was taking effect. The next morning, some people were on the park cutting salt. They should have met with the chiefs, youths and opinion leaders before making any decision. As a former assemblyman knowing the history of Tafo, where the refurbished park is situated isn't part of the Zongo community. We hope our leaders consult the youth the next time they want to help.
As a former assemblyman, minim Tafo Abakosema, there be a park in Akosino and Zongo Development Fund. If it says that park no in Zongo.
As minister by besides a park no park in there. I say
the truth is, Zongo community doesn't have a park. According to the minister, Zongo Development Fund is not here for only the park.
And Medina, and Yeji, and Salga.
The project shouldn't be politicized because it's the future that matters. The drain will help us than the park because it's closer to the Tafo Central Mosque. When it floods, you can't stay here, she says. The whole place gets flooded. We need the reconstruction of the drain.
Meanwhile, all is set for work to begin on the upgrade of Zongo communities across Ghana. The Zongo and Inner Cities Development Ministry was set up by the Akufo-Addo-led government in a bid to bridge the developmental gap between the Zongos and other sectors of the society. 2 years down the line, residents say they've seen very little work towards the realization of the president's vision. But Sector Minister Alhaji Boniface Abubakar Sadiq says all is set with special focus on building football parks in Zongo communities.
As soon as possible, right now, the board has come in place. The board has been sworn in just 2 days ago. They are supposed to start work. The executives for the Zongo Development Fund Secretariat have been appointed. The supporting staff will soon be appointed. And definitely work has to start.
So work has not started yet?
I have started from my ministry.
What has been done?
If you follow my activities, there are other activities I'm doing for various communities. So far, we have engaged 3,000 Arabic instructors in this country. It's one of those things in our mandates. 2, I've started with some places rehabilitating some schools. Because you go to Zongo communities today, I'll say without doubt, you can't find any good school in the Zongo communities compared to seemingly elite schools, so elite communities. So some of the schools that are so dilapidated, we are rehabilitating them to modern status. Some we need to collapse them and help build new schools so that they also feel some comfort within them that now their standards have been raised to a certain level. So it's so important that we do this. Apart from that, we're also establishing some football parks, either AstroTurf or green parks. This is to tell you why, because you go to a community, their major interests, if you care to know, their major interest might be football, basketball, or volleyball. You need to give them the opportunity. And because you check the history of Zongo, in terms of football, with respect to football, Zongo people, prime so high. They are rated so high as far as football is concerned in this country. And I always say it without doubt. We have had 3 best African footballers in this country. All the 3 best African footballers come from Zongo communities. Ibrahim Sande in 1972, Golden Boy Abdurazak in 1978, Abedi Pele 1982. Since 82, we've not had any best African footballer. And all the names, maybe some of the names I'll be mentioning, have lived up to expectation. If you come to Accra, you have people like Mohamed Polo, Abu Moro, Bashir Gambo, Mamakwa, Anas Seidu. You have a lot of them.
Okay.
When you go to Medina, anytime they invite players to Black Stars, you have not less than 5 people.
So how many of these parks have been constructed?
So far, we have not less than 10, because I know AstroTurf we only have 3. The green parks are ongoing. You have a place like Salaga, Bolga, Yeji, you have Odan, Walwale, you have Chebi, you have Medina. They are all ongoing. And very soon, they'll start commissioning them.
And these schools that are being rehabilitated, how many?
So far, we have about 2 or 3 that we have started, and we have identified about 51 projects in 41 communities. We've sent, we are asking for commencement warrant from Ministry of Finance. Monies have been made available, but you cannot commence when you don't have the certificates. This is where we have to engage the contractors. So within the next few weeks, I hope maybe 2 weeks, a contractor should move to site and works will begin.
Still to come in this bulletin, non-profit organization EAT calls for the transformation of the global food system to enhance food and nutrition security as we continue to record high cases of hunger and malnutrition, especially in developing countries. In business, treasurers and currency dealers call for the maintenance of the current marginal cedi stability in the coming weeks, citing improved dollar supply from the Bank of Ghana. We're back with the business segment. Welcome back to Joining Prime Time for business. And treasurers and currency dealers say the current marginal stability of the cedi should be maintained strongly in coming weeks. Their call follows what they describe as improved dollar supply from the Bank of Ghana and some other regulatory interventions. Bismarck Ewusa has more in this story.
There were fears that with the recent hikes in the U.S. Federal Reserve rates, the cedi could start depreciating strongly again. Speaking to Joy Business after the swearing in of new executives of the Association of Financial Market Operators, ACI, new President Kofi Asare-Mpianim tells Joy Business, based on some new measures, the outlook should surely be good.
Ghana's fundamentals are right. We have not even hit our cocoa season, and yet, and yet our reserves are at 5 months import cover. One of the main challenges I believe people were looking at was probably maybe the MTN IPO. Right, and the fact that if they're looking for USD, maybe people would buy dollars and therefore the currency would run. We have adequate reserves, and the central bank is coming up with structures to ensure that the movement is seamless. If the central bank doesn't, our job as financial market operators is to create structures. You can invest in forwards, you can invest in swaps, you can invest in options. There are so many different hedging tools you can use.
Currently, the cost of a dollar stands at about 4 cedis, 70 pesos, a situation some financial experts have described as some instability in the market, which came about as a result of the spillovers on the global economy. Mr. Mpianim also called for improved dollar supply to help kill activities of black market operators.
If you don't own something, anybody can own it. So as a financial market, what we have to do is own it. And our regulator, Bank of Ghana, the more responsibility they put on us, the more liquidity they supply to the market, the less power other markets can possibly provide. So as long as the price is fair and the liquidity is available, nobody will look elsewhere. And I don't believe that there's a need to look elsewhere because, of course, it's not a very regulated market. So you cannot be guaranteed of safety, whether the currency is legitimate or not, whether you're getting the right price. And so there's so many risks that come when you go into the informal side.
Mr. Mpianim spoke to Joy Business after the ACI Ghana inauguration ceremony, where he succeeds Ama Barem Bagati as new president. On his part, the head of financial stability at the Bank of Ghana, Dr. Joseph France, has urged the financial market operators to ready themselves for trading of loans with collateral.
The Bank of Ghana is leading the reform of repos to classic repo. This will be achieved by, among others, adoption of the Global Master Repurchase Agreements and providing guidelines to the market on trading repos in Ghana. I urge you to position yourself in readiness for the many anticipated reforms about to take place in our financial market space.
The Association of Financial Markets Operators, ACI, is made up of treasurers and currency dealers of commercial banks. Bismarck Ewusa's report for Joy Business.
Price of petroleum products is expected to go down by over 2%. This is based on Joy Business's calculations and data secured from some bulk of importers of petroleum products. There's more in the following Business Desk report.
Based on our calculations, petrol is expected to go down by 2.67%, translating into about 13.5 pesos per litre. Diesel should reduce by 1.95%, equaling about 10 pesos per litre. So following this proposed reduction, a gallon of petrol from next week, June 18, could be selling at around 21 Ghana cedis, 24 pesos, while a gallon of diesel is likely to be sold at the pumps at around 21 Ghana cedis, 24 pesos. The reduction has come about as a result of the marginal stability of the Ghana cedi and reduction in crude oil prices on the international market. However, don't expect all the over 90 oil marketing companies to reduce their prices. This is because some industry experts have argued that looking at the challenges that is facing the sector because of the deregulation policy, some players are likely to hold on to the current prices in order to improve their fortunes and help them still make some good money.
Welcome back to Joy News Prime. Let's get down to the rest of the stories. When more than 600 bright minds met early this week in Swedish capital Stockholm, all they were seeking to do was to find better ways of making food safe so everyone can live healthily while protecting the only planet that supports human life. With high cases of hunger and malnutrition, especially in developing countries, EAT, a non-profit organization, says it is time to transform the global food system to enhance food and nutrition security. Joy News' Adelaide Arthur attended the EAT Stockholm Food Forum and now reports.
Imagine a world where everyone, whether rich or poor, has access to healthy food, where malnutrition is a thing of the past, and where people do not have to make frequent trips to the hospital. After seeing severely malnourished children in Chad, World Bank CEO became more convinced malnutrition should be drastically dealt with.
I walked in this room, full of children, like 40, maybe more, and the room was dead silent. The children were so weak, not only they wouldn't cry, they wouldn't play, they wouldn't have a sound coming out of them. And that deafening silence in this room full of children, I would never forget this all that week. And I thought, cannot be that in this rich world of ours, there can be children that are so weak because of lack of food.
EAT, a non-profit organization, says food can fix the many health problems people encounter. This is why the organization brought together more than 600 scientists, researchers, politicians, chefs, and entrepreneurs to discuss how best the food system can be transformed so people can be fed healthy diets.
Numbers from the World Health Organization say that by a healthier lifestyle, where diet is number one, we can prevent 80% of all heart disease, diabetes type 2, and I believe one-third of all cancers. And still, no one are talking about the prevention part. So I think by getting it right on food, we can prevent so many of the health problems of diet-related diseases, which now account for chronic diseases now account for 70% of all global deaths. And also, I mean, as you mentioned, one third or 1 out of 3 people on the planet are malnourished.
The Chef's Manifesto, a network of chefs from across the world, says the huge volumes of food wasted, especially in restaurants, should be of concern. Every part of an ingredient is useful, they say, and so wasting of food shouldn't be tolerated.
The food waste issue, it's number 4 in the Chef's Manifesto. And it is, we as chefs have committed to valuing the natural resources that we use as chefs in our kitchens, and we actively aim to reduce waste in the kitchen. But one of the things that I want to say is a conversation we can have as chefs. Throwing food away is a crime. Throwing vegetables and fruit away should be a crime. But as soon as you move up the complex channel of food and you get into throwing away fish and meat, if you take a fish out of its natural environment and it's sacrificed for you to eat it, and it goes all the way up through the chain, it's refrigerated, it's logistically moved, it's prepared, it's cooked, and thrown away, it should be made a double crime.
Climate change campaigners say while transforming the way food is produced, processed, and consumed, protection of the environment should be paramount. Convener of Mission 2020 told journalists cocoa, which is an important crop for Ghana, risks being extinct in the next 4 decades if efforts are not made to mitigate the effects of climate change.
The cocoa industry is quite clear that if climate change runs rampant, there is a danger of us not having any cocoa being able to be produced in 40 years. So one way to solve that is eat as much chocolate as you can now. The other way to solve that is actually to bring, as they did, all the different players up and down the value chain to figure out what changes need to be made in order to for cocoa to become sustainable both from an environmental as well as from a social and economic point of view. And I assure you that the cocoa industry is only one example of an entire industry that is actually completely clear about these issues and focused on it.
The biggest challenge facing mankind now is how to feed a world population that is expected to surpass 9 billion by 2050. But experts believe it is possible to grow more food and feed healthy diets to a teeming world population if food is produced and processed in a sustainable way. Adelaide Arthur, Joy News, Stockholm, Sweden.
Now, in the midst of malpractice and murder charges, you may wonder why any woman would risk going under the knife at the infamous Obingfo Hospital. Well, Kojo Yangsing traveled to a suburb of Accra to discover why one woman wouldn't stop testifying to the skill and professionalism of the notorious Dr. Obingfo after she threw all caution to the wind and placed herself in his hands for the body of her dreams.
Dr. Dominic Obing-Andor is in the news again. This time, he's been charged with murder following the death of Stacey Ofei-Darko, the Deputy CEO of the National Entrepreneurship Innovation Program. Stacey had been receiving treatment at Obing-Andor's now notorious Obingfo Hospital, where she passed away. Naturally, this has sparked a national debate about liposuction, fat transfer, and other body sculpting procedures being undergone mostly by women who, for one reason or another, want a different body from the one God gave them. Now, with all the controversy that has surrounded the Obingfo Clinic and its owner for the past 14 years, I couldn't help but wonder what would make a woman feel safe and confident enough to place herself under his knife. In 2017, Nanama Jemfua, an educated entrepreneur in her 30s, did exactly that. I have come to her home somewhere in Accra to find out why.
Well, Nanama, thank you so much for having us in your lovely home.
You're welcome, Kojo.
Now, I'm really glad we're able to have this conversation because you have a very interesting story. You are, or shall I say were, a patient of Dr. Obing
Andor
of Obingfo Hospital.
Absolutely.
Tell us about that. How did you become his patient?
Precisely. And actually around that time I wasn't all that big, but I felt like a day whenever I become too fat, I should say I'll visit. So along the line, through childbearing and all that, I actually gained weight. Then I decided to visit.
Were other people commenting on how you look, or was it just how you personally felt?
Oh, well, inside and internally, it was something that I was really struggling with within me. I would say I had depression because of that. Oh, yes. I had depression because of that. Because knowing me, I loved wearing things that were so tight on me, and it got to a point I couldn't wear such, because if I should wear anything and see my tummy, you know, bulging there, it sucks to me. So I started hiding in clothes, baggy clothes and baggy tops. I could wear jeans, then wear something big because I couldn't show my curves anymore. So I was thinking about all these things like, oh, okay. I remembered, oh, Obingfo is even around. I've been there before, and I saw most pictures of whatever he's done, the procedures and what people had gone to do from there. So that was after 4 years I had been there. So I started, I went back in there again, went through the same procedure I had, because I had the card already. So I wanted to do my arms, because my arms were growing bigger back then when I first went to see him. I wasn't even bothered about my tummy, because I felt around that time my tummy wasn't anything big. I felt okay with it around that time. But this time around, it was my arms, my tummy, and everywhere. Though the back was also getting bigger, but then I wanted...
Did you have a problem with that too?
I'll say yeah, in a way, because I'm the type, I have a very soft skin, because my back was a bit saggy.
Do different kinds of men give you attention from before you did the surgery?
Of course, men are always driven by what they see. So those attentions I get them a lot.
And what I mean is are they different, the kinds of men who give you attention since you had the surgery? Are they different from the kinds of men?
Very.
In what way?
I wouldn't want to talk about that.
Oh, we're learning so much from you.
No.
But they are different.
Exactly. Very different.
Better?
Very. Best.
The National Science and Maths Quiz debutants Sunrise Senior High School beat Opoku-Ware School at the preliminary stages to qualify to the 1/8 stage of the ongoing competition. The new entrants proved to be a force to reckon with as they scored full points in round 4 of the contest. A correct answer to the last question for the contest solidified their position as victors, beating 2-time winners Opoku-Ware with 3 points. Joy News' Maxwell Agbagba captured the historic moments. Sunrise Senior High School were declared winners.
This is the atmosphere here at the RS Abagashi Auditorium. Sunrise debutant Sunrise Senior High School have been declared as winners. Remember, they came against renowned Opoku Wari Senior High School. They beat them by 3 points. Now, Sunrise, they had 49 points. Opoku Wari, they followed with 46 points. Sunrise Senior High School is their first time in the competition, and they've qualified to the 1/8 stage of the prestigious National Science and Maths Quiz. They cannot hide their excitement. Let's talk to some of them. Hey, how excited are you?
Very excited. I don't know how to say it. Initially, we were losing, but we even won the Opoku. That's shocking. We are very excited. Very, very excited. I can't be brief.
You're a teacher at Sunrise. Yes. Your students, they scored perfect points in round 4 of the competition. Yes. Of course, Opoku Wari was giving them a good run for their money. But at the end of the day, they emerged victorious. This is your first time in the National Science and Maths Quiz?
Yes, this is our first time. And we believe we're coming to prove our school and then prove everybody that Sunrise is a good school. Yes. So we have already beaten Opoku Wari, and the sky is our limit.
What is the secret? What's the secret for Sunrise? Because for a lot of people, this is the first time they're hearing of Sunrise.
Yes, Sunrise, even though this is our first time, we believe anything that we set our hands to do, we do it with all our might. And we believe in ourselves that when we say this is what we are doing, that is what we are doing. We set everything, our strength and everything. But with God, we know we can always go to the top. Yes.
Well, let's hear what the students are saying right now. The Jama session is on. Let's get to the stage. Let's talk to the contestants. Let's find out from them how they were able to do this. Of course, this requires some kind of mental fortitude because, they came in as the underdog. Really, nobody gave them a chance to win against Opoku Wari, but they've proven everybody wrong here. And right now, it's all excitement for the neutrals, who are here, whose schools are not really competed. They all show their support behind Sunrise because they proved to be a force to reckon with in the 4th round of the contest. Gentlemen, come, get closer. Let's talk to you. Now, how were you able to do this?
It took a lot of preparation, a lot of work, and yeah, it was very tough, but we had to put in a lot. Yeah, so it was a lot of work.
Now, in round 4, you guys didn't get any of the questions wrong. It was correct throughout. How do you manage to do that?
Back at school and when we came here, we always practice, especially the two of us. We go through the previous contests, and through that we were able to, and we learned more. We read more on the internet and in some books. So through the research, we were able to get all the questions right.
Well, coming up against OWAS, were you scared of OWAS? Because they've won this competition before, and this is the first time you're in the National Science and Maths Quiz.
Our teacher always told us that the schools have big name, but they always bring new students. So it's not the name, but it's the people that come on stage. So we took it as, no, we are just on a flat field and everything is equal. So they are not better than us. All we have to do is to make sure we do our best, and our best was enough to win them. Okay, your best was enough to win the contest. Thanks so much for talking to us. They've caused a major upset. Now for Opoku Wari Senior High School, they would have to pray to be part of the schools with the losing schools with the highest point, so they can progress to the next stage of the competition. Now the excitement is continuing outside. Let's just catch some action outside here right now. It's not stopping anytime soon. Like I told you, the neutrals have joined in the celebration, and it's continuing outside the auditorium of Sunrise Senior High School. They are going back to the hall to go and continue the jubilation right now. They're going back to their residence. The guys from Opoku Wari, they are nowhere to be found at this point. Reporting for Joy News, Maxwell Agbagba.
Now, still on the National Science and Maths quiz, a teacher's reward is in heaven. That's what people normally will say. But teachers whose students are participating in the ongoing National Science and Maths quiz will be reaping their results right here on Earth. One family has instituted an award scheme to honor teachers from less privileged schools who make it to the quarterfinals of the competition. The Banfo family has already donated thousands of Ghana cedis to organizers of the program to be presented to the teachers ahead of the elimination stages next week. Alex Banfo says his family is motivated by the commitment and sacrifice of their own parents who taught in a remote part of Ghana.
Motivation is that everybody counts, irrespective of your circumstance. Some people are lucky to get to a school where even if they slept, they would make it. Some people also have to work 3 times as hard to make it. Now, when you are in such a school, it looks like you've been condemned to not doing well. But we are seeing schools coming and kicking out the big boys and the big girls. Okay, who is behind it? These are teachers who have decided to dedicate themselves and get the students to work. But as always happens, we always recognize the winners, but we always forget that behind the winners, there are people who work.
The Banfo family are a product of 2 teachers, both of whom have rather unfortunately passed on to eternity. They started life as teachers in remote areas, and by dint of hard work and sacrifice, they managed to rise. Our father later on became a public servant, but our mother remained a teacher essentially all her life.
Members of Parliament are raising concerns over the security at Job 600. MP Fonsuta Kwaman Beposo Kwame Asafo-Adjei first raised the issue when he observed that strangers at times make use of elevators reserved for MPs at Job 600. He believes this does not augur well for their security.
The moment the elevator opens, you see a lot of people coming out. They are not MPs.
You get scared when you see them?
Sometimes, yes. Sometimes. Even I think about a month ago, I was going to my office. Right. Immediately I got inside the elevator. The guy was there. I don't know, I think he joined from a first floor or something. And I was looking at him. I was so scared. Then I was like, who are you looking for? They said, I'm looking for one honorable. I think he mentioned somebody's name. I was like, okay. So I just wait, just for him to see where he was going. Then I saw that he hasn't pressed anything. Then I was like, press number 9 for me because I'm going to 9th floor. And then he was like, oh, okay, miss, I'm going to 10th floor. I said, okay, then I'll go to 10th floor. When I got there, I said, who are you looking for? Then he just started talking and he left. Because even at that time, even if I want to report him to security, where would they be? But hey, I mean, it's Ghana, so what can you say about it?
But sometimes you'll be in the lift with strangers and you'll be communicating on phone. And the person will be hearing whatever you are discussing with other colleague or even government business. And sometimes you get scared. You don't know the person. If the person has any ill motive to do any harm to any member of parliament, in the list the person can do it. And the question is, how can you identify such a person as being a member of parliament or as a stranger? So it borders on our security. And it doesn't mean we are discriminating against the very people who voted for us. But I don't understand, because of indiscipline, people don't want to adhere to lay down rules and procedure.
Oh, you don't want to talk? No. I just want to find out, are you a member of parliament? No, I'm not a member of parliament. So why are you using this elevator?
It's emergency, that's why I'm using it.
It's an emergency?
Yes.
I should have not used this elevator, but because I know that they've closed from the chamber and they've gone, so definitely as they've gone, it's possible I can also use it, in as much as I'm also a staff in this office.
Within the presence of Parliament, of course, you do know we have the Marshals Department, who are in charge of order and security in the House. And the various offices would not have enough strength in the Marshal's Department to be responsible for those matters. So it requires, as in some jurisdictions, maybe to have police officers posted on the various floors, maybe 1 or 2 of them for each floor. So if there's anything, a report could be made immediately.
Away from Parliament, Ghana's tourism industry will soon see a boost with the signing of an agreement between hospitality training institutions in Ghana and the United States of America. The agreement was signed between technical universities in Ghana and the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore. There is more in this report.
The agreement comes at a time when Ghana's hospitality and tourism industry is facing numerous human and other resource challenges. The tourism sector lacks a national policy on training and development, poor human resource data, and a lack of personnel with professional, managerial, and technical skills. Director of International Programs at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Emmanuel T. Aqua, believes the deal, known as the Articulation Agreement, will help address the challenges the sector faces.
The Minister of Tourism, they are prepared and ready to work with the private sector, the technical universities, to make sure that they develop and implement appropriate policies that will empower and enhance both the private sector and the technical universities to produce the right type of human capital for what is needed in the industry.
President Akufo-Addo has declared his government's resolve to make Ghana a country beyond aid. Chairman of the Sunyani Technical University Council, a beneficiary of the partnership, Dr. Kwame Nabuachi, believes tourism, if given the right priority, could be a catalyst for development.
What's our comparative advantage? Obviously, tourism, hospitality and tourism is one of those areas, which means you have to put some investment there. You have to build the structures which will help to promote, the sector. In fact, hospitality and tourism has to be a mission for the whole country, because we stand to potentially earn a lot.
Touching on the duration of the agreement, Chairman of the Department of Hospitality and Tourism Management at the University of Maryland, Eastern Shore, Ernest P. Boga, indicated the agreement is a long-term one, but subject to annual review.
Well, the collaboration we expect will last in perpetuity, shall we say, but because it is a 4-year degree program, then certainly for 4 years. We have plans that are drawn up now for at least 5 years, but obviously it's a long-term continuous partnership. And this will produce graduates who will be able to perform as entry-level managers in the broad hospitality industry, hotels, restaurants, attractions, and all of the physical facilities of hospitality and tourism.
The University of Maryland Eastern Shore signed the articulation agreement with a consortium of 8 technical universities and 2 polytechnics in Ghana. Partners to the agreement hope it will aid in the implementation of a standard training for students and trainees in hospitality and tourism. This is expected to improve the quality of skill and services in Ghana's hospitality industry. Charity Emihil Batel's report for Joy News.
The Ogua Traditional Council has begun the construction of a 30-seater toilet facility behind the Cape Coast Castle and along the beaches of Cape Coast. The move is aimed at curbing open defecation behind the Cape Coast Castle and at the beaches. Adoring the facilities, the Paramount Chief of Ogua Traditional Area, Osabere Makwesiata II, assured the intervention will help clean the beaches of Cape Coast. Richard Kwejo-Nyako has filed this report.
The issue of open defecation at the back of the Cape Coast Castle has become a huge topical issue in Cape Coast after a Joy News report. Some residents still openly defecate behind the castle and the beaches despite attempts by authorities to halt the practice. The beaches are replete with dried human excreta as fishermen pull their net where I stand a few meters away from the Cape Coast Castle. Traditional authorities here in Cape Coast say the practice is fast becoming a blot on the conscience of the people of Cape Coast. The Ogua Traditional Council has vowed to fight the menace of open defecation until the battle is won. At a meeting at the Mintimazi Palace in Cape Coast to outdoor the project to build about 30 toilet facilities along the beaches, the Mahine of Ogua Traditional Area, Osabe Makwesiata II, urged the people to stay away from the practice to escape prosecution and fines.
The meeting this morning was to let the whole world know that as a result of that, we have taken steps, and it's not just talking steps, but positive steps to address the bad impression that has been created, to correct things and make our beaches clean. So this is the first step we have taken, and it will continue until we clean the whole beach from the east to the west. Yeah, you saw only 2 holes have been dug. We have 28 more stretching from Ekwan to Idri, and that will be 30 in all. As soon as that is done, in fact, the mason will be constructing the superstructure alongside.
Felix Amofa is a sanitation specialist for Global Communities. The group, sponsored by the USAID, is implementing the Wash for Health project. He explains how the toilet facility would work at the beaches.
Exactly. Normally, we have people who have to serve as volunteers to maintain the place. So we are going to take them through how to maintain the place, and they are going to be the behavior change agents to ensure that people, after using the facility, they clean it well. If they have to use some minimum amount of water to flush, they do so. And if they have to also wash their hands, they will have to make sure that the hand washing facilities that will be provided, they have to use it to wash their hands to prevent the transmission of sanitation-related diseases. It's going to be a Herculean task because you can't use a day to change somebody's behavior, because a habit that somebody has contracted for the past 30 years or has been using for the past 30 years, you can't use just a short period of time for the person to change. We know it's going to take some time, but with persistence, we are sure that we'll be able to achieve the target we want to get to.
For now, the Tourism Ministry has detailed security personnel behind the Cape Coast and Elmina castles to help check the menace until the ministry finishes the toilet facilities that have been awarded on contracts. Richard Kwejanyako, Joy News, Cape Coast.
Back in the studio in Accra, my name is Aisha Ibrahim. Now, flip-flop sandals, known in local parlance as chaliwate, can be found in almost every home in Ghana. It's been around for centuries, but it remains largely a casual footwear, mostly in the domestic setting, with little or no value placed on it. Well, at least a day has been set aside to recognize the importance of flip-flop. As the world marks Chaliwate Day today, we put the spotlight on innovations of a former radio presenter who is giving Chaliwate a new outlook. Love FM's Ralphina Osai Akono visited Emmanuel Yeboah's workshop at Takwa Mankuru in Kumasi and has filed this report.
The former reggae presenter goes by the brand name P. God. 3 years ago, the gifted craftsman conceived the informal footwear can be made into a valuable product. He decided to give it a try.
We were not selling this in a higher price, so I decided to make bees on the Chaliwate slipper so that it will go international.
Like every startup, funding was a challenge, so he began with a sack of flip-flops and a few packs of assorted beads.
60 pairs within the sack, and it cost 250 Ghana.
Emmanuel specializes in 2 different models, adorning the footwear with either wax print or bees.
I do one like the Gladiator, and I do the Gladiator. I have the one that the under is very close, and I have that one which is spaced out, and also these slippers that I'm doing. For the slippers, I can make maybe 3 or 4 pairs a day. But when I'm doing the Gladiator, the closed ones, I can make 1 pair 2 days.
Having enjoyed significant local patronage, Emmanuel started getting orders from abroad. The decorated pair of slippers goes for 30 Ghana cedis locally. It's about the same abroad, but he is determined to promote to the outside world.
The Gladiator, I sold it at 50 Ghana. And I have the one with the space out, which I sold it for 35 Ghana cedis.
He has so far trained more than 10 adults who are now plying their trade in different parts of the country. Sandra Usu, for instance, is left with some few months to pass out, but she is already enjoying the fruits of her labor. I was into mobile money, she says, but things weren't going well, and my sister advised me to learn the trade from him. So far, I'm able to make some and put them up for sale. The business is going on very well. Junior high school students find Emmanuel's place a viable hub to acquire the skill.
As you can see, an ordinary chalote has been transformed into this beautiful piece. Wow, it looks perfect, right?
Ralphina Oseakono's report for Joy News.
Time to check our headlines on top of the hour. President Akufo-Addo urges Muslim leaders to prioritize the education of young girls in the Zongo communities as Muslims across the country celebrate Eid al-Fitr. Meanwhile, Zongo and Inner Cities Development Ministry set to deliver on its promise 2 years down the line as residents say they've seen very little work towards the realization of the president's vision. Tonight, we told you how some Zongo youth in Kumasi stormed the Central Mosque during today's Eid prayer, demanding reasons from the police for the killing of their colleague last month. And business treasurers and currency dealers call for the maintenance of the current marginal cedi stability in the coming weeks, citing improved dollar supply from the Bank of Ghana. A non-profit organization, EAT, calls for the transformation of the global food system to enhance food and nutrition security as we continue to record high cases of hunger and malnutrition, especially in developing countries. And that's how we wrap up the bulletin tonight. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Many thanks for watching, and on behalf of the rest of the team, have a great evening.
Is Joy News Prime.